rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Another installment of this show. I'd be a little, shall we say, arrogant if I were saying the best show on the interwebs today. Well, I won't say that. Just like I won't say hello to a certain guest. Yeah. Anyway, you can't tell me not to do something and then expect me to not do it. I mean, seriously, this is sort of like telling your kid that the stove is hot. I mean, you would hope that they don't do it, but, you know, the stove is hot, and then they go and touch it, and then you look at them and go, yeah, you should have listened to me. Anyway. All right, folks, it's a Saturday. Yes. You know, I hope everybody spent time today working out in their yards. I mean, I know that all of you in Florida have very rare bad weather. Although when you do get bad weather, it is literally really bad. But yeah. Anyway, I spent the day out in the yard today trying to tame the forest that, of course, comes from the winter. Over the winter, things up here in the Pacific Northwest, they don't necessarily stop growing over the winter because it doesn't ever really get that cold here, you know. And so anyway, I had to cut back some of the jungle. And I was listening to the Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio today throughout that whole thing. You guys should go and check it out, TGRN. Yeah, that's our Wednesday show. No. Anyway, I thought I'd give them a shout out. My buddy Oogie has gotten that thing. Wow. I mean, it sounds really, really good. And you guys should go and check it out. But anyway, go to tgrn.net. All right. Quick plug. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight here. We have, I think, one of the cutest pledges up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance, the Fernando twins. So, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat, if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with the Fernando twins as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bye.
And, of course, I thank you, Fernando twins. I'm telling you, that's got to be in the top 5 of the cutest ones that I have for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge, or if you want to try and knock them out of the first place position, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email, and send it off to me by sending it to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 23 of these. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. I've been promised one more, so that'll make it 24. So time is coming down. Well, not that I really will stop. I mean, if I end up with 27 or 28, I'll be even happier. Because as everybody who is a Whiskey Warrior P1 knows, I like even numbers. So 27 wouldn't do. It would have to be 28. Anyway, if you use your phone to record it, make sure that you utilize the share option. That's the SHARE option to send it to me, and you will have the opportunity to send it off to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. I hear tell if I ask really, really nice, there might be a guest who may provide one if I ask really nice. So please, 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 please become number 24 or 25. I'd be on my knees, but it'd take me too long to get back up. Anyway, let's move on to our headline sponsor. Tonight is, of course, the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution is a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education, all from a biblical world view. They have a 3-step process that they ask you to join in. The first step, of course, is to pray. You need to pray for your country. You should pray every day. And if you need help coming up with prayer, okay, you can sign in at their homepage here. You can provide them with your email address, and they will email you every single day a new prayer, and you can pray with them as they pray, So there you go. Second step, of course, is to study. Now, what are you going to study? Oh, you're going to study the United States Constitution to start. That's what it is. And you can start off by taking their free, 100% free online course. Go and sign up right here in the place right above my head. And you can put in your first and last name and your email address. Click the Get Lesson 1 free button, and they will send it right to your email box, inbox. There's 12 short lessons, and by short, I mean 15 to 20 minutes long, and they will send them to you one per week, and you will learn at your own pace in a nationally recognized, again, 100% free online course. And once you're done with the online course, go and explore their live courses with nationally certified instructors. You can delve into the United States Constitution course as well as many other courses. As you can see, they have the U.S. Constitution course. They have the Truth of America's Founding. That one is coming up on Saturday, May 9th in Ridgely, Maryland. They do have the U.S. Constitution course in Ridgely, Maryland also on the 14th. So there you go. There you go. And plenty of others. You can go and check out all of their courses. And then once you are done with a few courses, it's time for you to share what you have learned. Share what you have learned. Yes. Yes, Yoda. And become an instructor. So there you go. You can act. Well, you act by taking the courses, too. I mean, you can act and become a member of the Institute on the Constitution. But you can also act to become an instructor today. And become an instructor and give classes in your neck of the woods. Grassroots education, man. That's the way it is for these guys. And here is a couple of videos that you can watch. The first one being how to become an instructor. The second one being 5 tips for a successful class. Then if you decide to become an instructor, you can grab their instructor kit right here. And you can go and check it out in the shop. Go and click on their shop button. It's up in the upper right-hand corner, covered up by my closed captioning words. But once you go into the shop, you can check out all of their wonderful stuff: educational resources, self-evident apparel, instructor materials, U.S. Constitution course materials, and my personal favorite right above my head here is the Legacy Library. It is full of leather items. I love leather. Leather items. And my personal favorite is right here. Right here. I'm making it move here in the video, but it's this thing right here. This is the leather-bound U.S. Constitution. That is right here. This is a keepsake. This is a serious, I'm being serious. This is a keepsake. It has a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if something does go wrong, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. 3 Chevy knows what's going on here. He says all the Roman numerals come with a 100-year numerical order guarantee as well. And so there you go. But check this thing out. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through. The leather and the pages contained within. I've already told you about the warranty. And my youngest whiskey warrior, it is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to achieve your civics badge in scouting, as well as achieve that civics test in school. Or hey, if you're a immigrant here and want to join the greatest country, become a citizen and join the greatest country, you can use this to study for your naturalization test. Guarantee you just about everything you need to know, just about, not everything, but just about everything you need to know is right here in this hot little book. And it's pocket-sized. My Whiskey Warrior P1s all know it has sexy rounded corners. And you can go and get this by heading over to theamericanview.com and tap into their legacy library. Just go to the shop, go to the legacy library, and you'll find it right there. It's theamericanview.com. Oh, my goodness, I didn't even put it up there. Theamericanview.com is where you go for all of this information, both for the Constitution course as well as all of these other wonderful things that I've been showing you. So theamericanview.com, that is theamericanview.com is where you go to get all of this. And join the Institute on the Constitution and help them in their mission to restore a constitutional republic through grassroots education. I thank them for being a sponsor of the show. All right. Well, I've already been yelled at by my unofficial producer, so I might as well get this right. The first segment up for tonight is On This Day in American History. And, of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb. Chock full of all kinds of information and factoids about this great country that we call home. Look at how thick that book is, man. Anyway, today, how many people can remember at least the beginning of this poem? On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. Can somebody remember what that poem is? Maybe put it in the chat real quick before I go ahead and tell you what I'm about ready to read about. Come on. I know you guys are a few seconds behind in the feed, but you can do this. Yep, there it is. Ha! Of course, it figures my unofficial producer would hop in there right away. We are going to talk about Paul Revere's Ride. Yep. April 18th, 1775 brought the most famous ride in American history. With the colonies near open rebellion, British General Thomas Gage ordered 700 troops to march from Boston to Concord that night to seize the militia's military supplies and to arrest the Patriot leaders Samuel Adams and John Hancock. The British had hoped to move in secret, but Patriot spies were everywhere, And soon silversmith Paul Revere was galloping through the night, spreading the alarm for the country folk to be up and to arm, as Henry Wadsworth Longfellow put in his famous poem. There are several misconceptions about Revere's ride, thanks in part to Longfellow's verse. The first one is that Revere actually waited for a signal lantern to be hung in the tower of the Old North Church to know how the Redcoats were moving, one if by land and two if by sea, meaning across the Charles River. In fact, Revere himself directed the signal be set to warn other patriots in the area. Another misconception is that Revere galloped along calling the British are coming. He would have not have yelled that, since the colonists still thought of themselves as British. More likely, he called out something like the regulars are coming out, meaning the regular military. Revere reached Lexington and warned Hancock and Adams of the danger. With that mission accomplished, he jumped back onto his horse and set out for Concord, though he never actually got that far. A British patrol captured him, but a companion escaped and rode to Concord to alert the patriots there. The British questioned Revere and let him go, but by then, the warning had flown from village to village. Hundreds of colonists quickly armed themselves. When the Redcoats reached Lexington at dawn, the Minutemen were waiting. And that is today, on this day in American history. Now, what a lot of people do not understand, and especially people of the left who do not understand about this, that particular scenario and the resulting battle that came from it was the shot heard round the world. The Battle of Lexington and Concord were the start, the physical beginning of the armed revolution. And, by the way, it also was the reason the Redcoats going and trying to capture the ammunition from a ammo depot that was in and around the Lexington and Concord areas, that it was that, and that alone, along with the confiscation of weapons throughout the revolution itself, that was the driver for the Second Amendment. Just for people to understand, it was that was the driver for the development of the Second Amendment, which basically stated that because of the fact that states needed to protect themselves with a well-regulated, meaning a in working order militia, it is because of that they needed to protect themselves against a tyrannical government. It is because of that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. None of this BS about the hunting or any of that other crap. It is total BS. All right, I forgot to tell you what I was drinking tonight. Tonight I am drinking out of the Jefferson's Reserve. Boom, 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 boom. As you can see, it's getting down there. So there it is. And, of course, it is in one of the favorite glasses that I have. This is a Whiskey Warrior P1 gift to us, meaning to me. And it says on there, if you can't read it, it says it takes stones to drink with whiskey. As 3 Chevy pointed out, Yoda would say, drink with whiskey you will? Then stones you must have. Anyway, I know it's a very bad impression of Yoda, but what? My show. Requisite first sip. There we go. There we go. All right. Well, I think we're playing the hokey pokey with the Strait of Hormuz. That's right. You know, you say the strait is open, you say the strait is closed, you say the strait is open, but it really isn't. Anyway. Oh, why does this not surprise me that these guys are doing this over in Iran? Anyway, the New York Post pointed out that Iran says, well, guess what? The U.S. violated the deal to reopen the strait. So, yeah, we're going to reimpose restrictions. Yeah, like they were really going to open it. I mean, let's be honest here. Iran does nothing but lie. That's all they do. That's all they do. They just lie like a cheap rug in front of a fireplace. And they do that all the time. They lie, they lie, they lie. Anyway, Iran's Joint Military Command said on Saturday that control of the Strait of Hormuz has returned to its previous state under strict management and control of the armed forces. It warned that it would continue to block transit through the strait as long as the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports remained in effect. Okay. So, yeah. Anyway, the announcement, of course, came the morning after President Donald Trump said that even after Iran had announced the strait's opening on Friday, that the American blockade will remain in full force until Tehran, however you pronounce it, reaches a deal with the U.S., including on its nuclear program. So, there you go. It's open, it's closed. It was open, now it's closed. Well, apparently, to prove that point, Iran fired on at least 2 ships near Oman after announcing this. So, a couple of ships that were apparently passing by over on Oman or by Oman, the IRGC gunboats approached a tanker around 20 nautical miles northeast of the Gulf country around 1 p.m. local time, opened fire unprovoked. The tanker's master reported, according to the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Organization. The audio recordings indicated that the 2 Indian vessels were also forced back out of the strait following the gunfire. One of those ships was flagged Indian registry. It was the Indian VLCC supertanker that was carrying 2 million barrels of Iraqi oil, according to an X account that tracks these maritime travels. And, yeah. So, This incident, of course, prompted India to summon the Iranian ambassador to express its deep concern and urge Tehran to immediately restore safe passage for its ship through the vital waterway. The Saturday attacks come amid confusion over the status of the waterway, with Iran sending mixed messages and mixed signals in the last several days, claiming that it had reopened it on Friday, because you remember it was actually the Iranian a ministry that announced it. Anyway, yeah. So there we go. Back and forth, back and forth. Well, Trump, of course, said, hey, Iran can't blackmail the United States. So he basically said that the United States will not be blackmailed. He was speaking from the Oval Office Okay. All right. So, yeah, he was speaking from the Oval Office on Saturday morning. Trump said that while his administration was having very good conversations with Tehran, he said that the Islamist regime was trying to act a little cute by attempting to close down the Strait of Hormuz just hours after agreeing to open the critical waterway. He says they can't blackmail us. So, yeah. Anyway, the president also added that more information about the state of negotiations with Iran would be released later today. Separately, the Iran's deputy foreign minister, Sahid, I'm going to mincemeat his name, so I'm not even going to bother with it, said that there was no date set for any further peace negotiations, adding that both sides must agree to a framework before sitting down again. He said from the sidelines in Turkey, he said, we hope that as soon as we can finalize that, then we can move on to the next step. So, yeah. Well, you know, eventually these guys have got to get crap right. I'm just saying. I yeah. Anyway, Trump did claim that Iran was removing the sea mines. And he also said that they will never close the Strait of Hormuz again. Now, granted, that was yesterday. So, shoot, I don't know. We got a foot in, we got a foot out, we got a foot in, and we shake it all about and do the hokey pokey, and we turn ourselves around, and then all of a sudden the Strait of Hormuz is either open or closed again, depending upon which way it was when we first started. Who the hell knows? I'll tell you what, though, it's kind of interesting, and of course, in my personal viewpoint, which that's what this show is all about for the most part, is my personal viewpoint. But in my personal viewpoint, I don't know why Iran is even playing with these games. And to be honest, I'm not even sure why Trump is even allowing this stuff. I mean, I know he's trying to do things more politically than militarily. But after having raised two kids and understanding the philosophy or the thought process that these people have, I don't see why you would hold back anymore. I mean, just obliterate it and call it good. Be like, you know, essentially say, hey, look, we've been trying to play with you. You know, we've been trying to play your game. We're trying to get it so that you guys can survive. And not anymore. And just get rid of them. Not saying get rid of the Iranian people, okay? Get rid of the regime. Get rid of the IRGC people. Get rid of them. Because they're the ones that are essentially acting out all of this stuff. It's not the Iranian people per se. It's not the Iranian people, at least not the majority, rank and file. It's the regime folks. You know, there was a point where, I keep forgetting his name, but anyway, Colin Powell, that's it. Colin Powell made the comment. He goes, sooner or later, you just got to turn the whole place into a glass factory or something along those lines. I don't see necessarily any problem with that per se, because this is ridiculous. This is totally and utterly ridiculous. Anyway, so pretty much everything is up in the air, even including the whole point about Iran agreeing to an unlimited suspension of their nuclear program, that kind of stuff. So on and so forth. Now, reportedly, Trump is kind of toying with the idea of releasing some Iranian frozen funds. But at the same time, though, even though that's being reported, it's also being reported that he's not going to do that. Now, for those of us with memories longer than, 3 minutes, that was exactly what happened with Biden and Obama, where they went ahead and released funds. This is not the way that these people need to be handled. We've seen what happens when we release funds to them. We can't do this. Honestly, I am not in favor of another war in the Middle East. Frankly, I wish we could stay out of it. But at the same time, though, folks, this is a bit of a problem. Not necessarily directly for us, but definitely for our partners over there. And this is becoming a bit of a problem. And so hopefully Trump will do what he needs to do in order to take care of the challenge. So anyway. Well, I just got to say for tonight, I've got another, I'm going to get a copyright strike on YouTube for this. I know I am, but I've got a couple more people lined up for, of course, the dumbass files.
You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. You're grade A, number one, bona fide first class. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. And you'll be one all your dumbass life.
Yep. Here is the prime. Oh, this is tonight's number one dumbass. This is the prime dumbass. Just take a listen to her. Just so you know, this is Watson Coleman, Ms. Watson Coleman. She is a Democrat, House Democrat representative from somewhere. I don't know. I don't care. Anyway, she is, well, let's just say she is seriously infected with TDS.
Because if we wanted to eliminate abuse and fraud, we'd eliminate the president of the United States from the office right now and the rest of the sycophants in his administration that are allowing him to do so many illegal things. So,
I just got to ask a question because I'm at a loss here. I'm at a complete loss. What illegal things has he been doing? Seriously, we're under 60 days that he legally has under the War Powers Act of 1972 in order to engage with Iran. He is the most constitutional president that we have had of the last 3 for sure, and potentially even of the last 5 or 6. I'm still trying to figure out, and they still haven't been able to necessarily articulate clearly what it is that he has done that is illegal. Tell me, what statute, what part of the Constitution has he violated? It's really should be a very simple process in order to do that. I'm at a complete loss. Well, anyway, yeah, she wants to eliminate the president. You know that phraseology? That's kind of interesting. I wonder if somebody could turn her in. Well, technically, she does have immunity. She's on the Hill. So she has immunity according to the Constitution. Yeah. These people are just completely lost. Speaking of lost, and the mayor of Chicago, well, he's poked his head up again. That's some good Jefferson Reserve. Anyway, the mayor of Chicago has popped his head up again. Oh, yes. Now, apparently, the restaurant industry, the industry where you're being served because you're paying for your meals, apparently that is now tied to slavery. Even though I'm fairly certain that restaurants, pubs, places that, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Well, hear it in his own words, man. Let me just say, this is number 2 in the Dumbass Files.
Black man in America calling for the reparations of black people. There is no hiding and escaping that. I'm taking a bold statement here. Here's what I actually need from the public. When we do have these public meetings, let's make sure that people participate in them and challenge city council not to do stuff like take wages away from black and brown people. Because that in and of itself has its vestiges tied to slavery. And you just watched an entire city council in transparency try to take wages away from the very people who are part of an industry that has its ties to slavery. Nobody's hiding from that. I am boldly declaring that we need reparations in this city, and that's why I'm funding it. So I hope you will participate in those open public meetings. Thanks, Mark. Thank you for both of your questions.
Okay. First of all, I have a question. Mister. I have a question. Number 1. How many people in America today, how many people in America today are slaves or have been in their lifetime here in America? How many people in America today are or have been slaves inside the United States of America? Let me answer for you. It is none. There is not a single person, black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, Asian, basically, who is ever been a slave on the cause of the United States of America. Why and how is that person, are these people who have never been slaves required to receive reparations? Why? As far as I am aware, every single one of them has the exact same opportunities that I do. And by the way, where are these reparations going to come from? Because I can tell you, guarantee you, my family came here in the early 1900s, 1906, I believe, to be exact, which was after 1865 when the slaves were freed. My family did not own slaves here in the United States. We settled in a northern state that was not slave driven, was not part of the South. So, how fair, Mayor Brandon Johnson? By the way, Illinois, as far as I know, has never been a slave state and is actually, if I recall correctly, the birthplace or something like that of the guy that actually freed the slaves, the President Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. Or at least that's where he came from anyway. He may not have been born there, but that's where he came from. Yeah, I'd like to understand, Brandon Johnson, where is this money going to come from? Because just like there aren't any slaves and there haven't been any slaves in America for quite some time, at least 3 generations, there also haven't been any slave owners for at least 3 generations. But where is this money going to come from? And why is it being given to somebody? Why is it being given to somebody who's never been a slave? I'm just incredibly confused about this entire thing. And he is going to keep pushing for those reparations. He is just going to keep pushing for those reparations. Yes, of course, my Whiskey Warrior P1s have corrected me. Lincoln was born in Kentucky. He was born in Kentucky. Okay, got to get it right. He was born in Kentucky, but he did come from Illinois. I think he moved there, and that was the state that he was from when he ran for president, if I recall correct. So anyway, so what he was talking about was back in 2023, the Chicago City Council passed a bill that would gradually increase the base wage for tipped workers to get to the full minimum wage by July 1st of 2028. However, the council soon realized that the wage increases were hurting the restaurant business. Oh, holy crap. All of a sudden, the council woke up and said, hey, we actually know we've discovered economics. When you raise costs, you price yourself out of the market. Yeah. Okay. So this is why. Again, the council originally passed a bill that would gradually increase the base wage for tipped workers to get the full minimum wage by July 1 of 2028. However, the council realized that the wage increases were hurting the businesses. Oh my gosh. No kidding. And that owners had to actually cut hours and fire staff in order to keep up with the wage increases. You know, these morons, and yes, I am going to call them morons, these morons need to honestly take an Econ 101 class. I mean, this is really very basic and simple. When you raise your costs and you raise prices, you lose business. People are not going to want to pay a whole hell of an extra amount. Okay? They just aren't. Why would they pay a crap ton extra inside the city of Chicago when they could potentially go elsewhere and get a meal for a reasonable price? I mean, this is exactly what Seattle did. Seattle went to a $15 an hour wage hike a long time ago, and by that I mean like 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, restaurants and service-related industries were drying up. They were going away. Wow. I don't understand where these people, they're just really, I guess they're just really that stupid. I don't understand this. And then they kind of wonder, they're trying to understand, well, what is happening with the whole AI process too? You know, the whole AI thing where all of a sudden you price your workers out of the cost in comparison to putting up, let's say, automated checkout lanes or automated restaurant taking devices or something like that. I mean, you see them everywhere. Hell, I've gone to restaurants that have these things on the table. They're basically just about the size of a small tablet. And you go and you put in your order yourself. And yes, they still have a person to deliver it to the table. Okay, great. But you can also check out on your own anytime with that same tablet. They have taken, because of the fact that these people, and by these people, I mean the Democrats and everybody else have been, sitting there going, oh, yeah, we got to raise the minimum wage. So they've cut people out of the process. You can have one person, all they do is deliver food. That's it. It takes something like, 30 seconds to a minute in a crowded restaurant to deliver food from the kitchen to the table. And that's the only thing that those people are doing. And you can cut back the number of servers because they don't need to be one server per, 15 tables or whatever. You cut back on the employees, and now all of a sudden, your company or your restaurant is profitable once again. Sort of. I mean, let's never mind the fact that very, very few of these things actually make it in this world. But anyway. So, yeah. Now, the city council proposed to freeze the increases on tipped worker pay at $12.62 an hour. The bill passed in the council 30-19, but the council would have needed 34 votes to override Johnson's veto. The mayor was also asked by a reporter about the reparations task force non-compliance with transparency laws. Johnson has called his veto of the bill a victory for the working people. It's actually a death knell for the service-related industry inside of the city of Chicago. Okay. Bam is asking if I've always lived in Washington. No, actually. I've lived in Colorado, Oregon, Texas, Connecticut. I think that's it as far as living. I visited a crap ton of states. In fact, I have to go through and figure out how many states I have left in terms of, if I put that on my bucket list after I retire to hit all 50 states, because I've hit the two hardest ones. I've hit Alaska and Hawaii, which are the two hardest ones to get. The rest are in the lower 48. So, yeah. Anyway. Oh, no, actually, I have not done any radio. Bam is asking, a friend of mine is watching and he wants to know if you did radio in Virginia. No, unfortunately, I haven't done any radio. I would love to. It's a fantastic idea, but no, I haven't done any radio in Virginia. That would be cool, though. I would love to do radio. I own a radio, or I'm part owner in a radio station, if that counts. Anyway. All right. Well, let's see. Before I move on to my next topic, let me go ahead and put in. Yeah, let's talk about coffee, baby. Let's talk about coffee, baby. Let's talk about 1775 coffee. If you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There's only 1,000 units available. That's a small number. Anyway, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, as well as the Vitality Mushroom Coffee that has clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you'll also be receiving the gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also be receiving a frother that is strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. Yeah, it's really hard to get her going. Yeah, anyway, you'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for only $99. That's right, $170 worth of coffee and gear for just $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to the numbers 1775 coffee. That's 1775 coffee. That's all one word. .com /studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they are gone. Go to 1775coffee.com, 1775coffee.com /studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they disappear. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does, go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit today. And my couple of my Whiskey Warrior P1s say that 1775 coffee wakes you up. And he put his head in his hand and groaned at that time. And apparently 3 Chevy thinks that 1775 coffee is strong enough to even get G off the couch. 1775 coffee. I drink that. I drink coffee every morning, man. I'm telling you. The only way that I can get up. It's like, the old Folgers commercial. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. The best part of waking up is coffee in your cup. So there you go. Anyway. All right. Well, let's go ahead and shift gears. Actually, before I shift gears, I do have to say, Bam, your friend who is watching, I'm just going to say this. It's really kind of okay. We're going off the rails or off the tracks. Okay, we're going off the tracks here. This is an off the tracks moment here on the American Perspective Show. I have been told by multiple people, and I've never believed this, but I have been I've been told by multiple people that I have some sort of a radio voice. And one of them is actually my current partner, who has had 30 years in the radio business in the TGRN True Grit Roots Network company that we own, the radio station that we own. And I never really thought about becoming a radio disc jockey or anything like that. And I've sort of played with and toyed with the idea over the last, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. Yes, 3 Chevy, I know. I have a face for radio, but definitely not a voice. Anyway, all of that being said, once I started doing this podcast, I actually started like, oh, this would be kind of cool. I would love to be on the radio and, do a radio show. And when Rush passed, that's Rush Limbaugh. When Rush passed, I was actually inspired, and I was like, okay, well, not that I'm necessarily going to take the place of Rush, because you can't take the place of Rush. And the only people that would even come close, honestly, to, quote, taking the place of Rush would potentially be somebody like a Mark Levin, the great one, or potentially even Dan Bongino. But even both of them, they're not interested in taking the place of Rush, because you cannot take the place of Rush. But what I try and do is I try and channel some of Rush's energy and entertainment, and especially his breadth and depth of knowledge. And, yeah, I just, all I got to say is that, radio, unfortunately, regular terrestrial radio, I think is going to eventually go the way of the dodo in some way, shape, or form. It may take a little bit while longer than what we have right now, but this format, this medium, video and audio podcasting, I think is taking over, mainly just because of the fact that there's such a variety out there. And unfortunately, because there is such a variety, there isn't really like and considering the fact that it is fairly easy to actually break into the space. But the thing about it is that it's a long game. And that's what I was told when I started this. Podcasting is a long game. I've been doing this for 6 years now. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not as far along as what I really would have liked to have been by now. But at the same time, I also count my blessings because I have a fantastic regular audience from all over the country and the world that nobody is able to beat. I have the most intelligent listening audience in the ethosphere who correct me when I am wrong on things, on items. and are just a fantastic group of people that I would, I hope to someday be able to meet each and every one of the Whiskey Warrior group, the Whiskey Warrior P1s, all over the country and potentially even the world. It would be awesome to fly all the way to Australia, although that would be a long freaking flight. But anyway, yeah, it would be fantastic. So to go all around the country and to meet every single one of you. And we still have plans for that. Don't get me wrong, but, you know, obviously life gets in the way. So there it is. All right. Enough of the sidetrack. Enough of the sidetrack. All right. Well, I'm sorry that I even have to talk about this, but Eric Swalwell, the unraveling of Eric Swalwell has, well, let's just say been somewhat spectacular. And apparently California Democrats have now admitted that they knew all along about Eric Swalwell's sexual misconduct stuff. At least 2 Democrat politicians in the Golden State, meaning California, admitted that they were aware of Swalwell's alleged extracurricular activities with the female side of our species, which suggests that far more on the left actually knew about this. Now, we talked about how Pelosi and Schiff, both of them were pushing. They had to have known. They seriously had to have known. Okay. But during an interview on CNN, Representative Sam Liccardo confirmed that he knew about the rumors surrounding Swalwell's sexual escapades. He says, quote, "I first heard about the rumors when Swalwell announced his run for governor in November and knew political consultants who talk about what we call Oppo files. These are opposition records that political consultants compile that were talking about Swalwell's sexual misconduct." He also quickly noted that at the time, nobody was talking about rape, as we're hearing now. It was not sexual assault, but clearly sexual misconduct and abuse of his position. Former Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra, who is also running for governor, also acknowledged hearing about Swalwell's alleged behavior. He said, quote, "I think many of us had heard the rumors as well. Never seen any corroboration, but certainly I think the word had gone out. Look, these are public servants." What the hell does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I'm just saying. What the hell? Becerra continued, "They should know they're going to be held accountable, so one way or the other, the facts are going to come forward." Yeah. Well, Red State's Jennifer Van Laar, who often reports on California politics, wrote a post on X in which she explained that California Democrats have all known about Swalwell for at least 6 years, and some legacy media orgs have been working since then to get the women on the record. Keep in mind, the scandal itself erupted when multiple women have come forward to detail their experiences with Swalwell. They all accuse him of sexual harassment, and some are even accusing him of sexual assault and rape. So, former model and tech entrepreneur Lana Drews, Drews, held a conference with her attorneys last Tuesday and accused the former lawmaker of drugging and raping her in a hotel, Los Angeles hotel, back in 2018. She said, quote, "He raped me and choked me." Her account is similar to claims made by other women. And Swalwell has acknowledged mistakes in judgment, quote unquote, but denied the allegations and said that he will fight them in court. His attorney, Sarah Azari, called the allegations a calculated and transparent political hit job. Sure. Anyway. Well, speaking of all of this sexual allegations, can somebody tell me, somebody somewhere, please, show me in the Constitution. Just show me in the Constitution where it says that taxpayer money is to go to sexual harassment settlements against congressmen. You know, I've read the Constitution from cover to cover at least a handful of times, and by that I mean 5 times, possibly more. I refer to it all the time, and I don't seem to recall anywhere in the Constitution it saying that the federal government must create a slush fund for our taxpayer dollars, our federal taxpayer dollars, to pay off your, meaning the representatives and Senate representatives, personal sexual harassment settlements. I'd like to understand where that is. Because if somebody can show that to me, now this is one of the major things that I have, one of the major problems that I have with the federal government today is that it has grown so far outside of its constitutional boundaries that there is even some question as to whether or not we could actually get it and rein it back in and get it back inside the box, per se. It's sort of like the box of Pandora. Once you open it, you can't ever get it back into it. Well, I'm going to sit here and continue to call this crap out because, to be honest with you, I still can't quite figure out why or how the Congress is able to even do this. Because this is not one of their enumerated powers. This is not one of their enumerated powers or where the federal government's money is supposed to go. And if you recall, I did tell you the story of oh man, I just had it in my head. Davy Crockett. That's it. Davy Crockett's thing about the people in Georgetown where federal government money was spent. They gave $20,000 to the victims of a Georgetown fire in Washington, D.C., and he got called on the carpet. It was a true story. He got called on the carpet by one of his constituents who was basically saying, hey, that's not your money. That's my money. That's the money of people who live down this road who have just as much hardship as those people in Georgetown. And you're giving away public money to them, but you're not giving it to these people who are here in your state, in your home state, who are hurting just as badly and perhaps even more or longer. I mean, this is ridiculous. Look at this article in the Post-Millennial. Taxpayers are on the hook for $18 million to pay off sexual harassment settlements against congressmen. According to Anna Paulina Luna, she posted on Wednesday on X, a friendly reminder that House Oversight subpoenaed the records for Congressional Sexual Harassment Slush Fund, and we will be releasing them. Maybe we'll see more resignations, you never know. Where the hell did this slush fund even come from? I mean, okay, 18 million is a drop in the bucket compared to the 37, 38, 39, 400,000 trillion million zillion dollars. I'm being facetious. That we have as a part of our debt. It's a very small drop in the bucket, but I honestly, where the hell did they have the ability? Where does Congress have the ability within the Constitution to create this slush fund? I mean, yes, Congress people are to be paid a stipend. Okay. They are to be paid a stipend for their time. It says that in the Constitution. It says that as long as they are going to and from their appointed job at the Hill, and while they're up on the Hill, they do have immunity from prosecution when they're up there and they're doing their job or they're traveling to and from. But it doesn't say anything. The Constitution says nothing. That if you take a woman or a guy and you assault them on your own time away from the Hill or anything else, that the federal government is responsible for your actions. There's not one single mention of that. And don't give me this crap about, well, the president has immunity. No, the president does not have immunity. He has immunity for his responsibilities in his job. Now, to be fair, not everybody that does a payoff actually is guilty of performing these acts. Oftentimes, people who have money and power get targeted by gold diggers, and they become targets for scams in order to try and get money, because oftentimes it's easier just to pay off the person than it is to go through the public humiliation about it. But I still go back to the same thing. What the hell is $18 million? How is it that Congress even has the ability to set this money aside? Oh, we're going to take it from the American taxpayer. And the American taxpayer will be on the hook for all of the claims, the sexual allegation claims. This is a slush fund that is going to be designed to protect all of us in Congress. If you ask me, this law should be challenged. And if I had the money and the time, I have the temptation to challenge this law under the 10th Amendment. I have the temptation to actually challenge this law under the 10th Amendment. This is not written in the Constitution, and therefore, if they have any kind of a slush fund, realistically, it's not the federal government dollars that should be paying for it. It should be the state dollars. And since they're federal representatives and they're not getting any money from the state, well, and I don't know of any state that would necessarily be under the scrutination or under scrutiny would actually be able to pass that either. Like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to provide a slush fund for our Congress people to have, so on and so forth. And that's it. What? I'm kind of interested in this. So apparently this is part of the 1997 to 2019, the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights settled nearly 300 workplace disputes related to discrimination, pay, harassment, and other issues, and paid out over $18 million, according to a report from the agency. Again, where in the Constitution does it say that the federal government and our taxpayer dollars are supposed to go to that? Can somebody pull that up for me, please? I mean, I'm not a very, I wouldn't say I'm like an overly smart man, but I'm decently intelligent. And I know that I've read through the Constitution on multiple occasions. I still can't quite figure out where this comes from. How is it that these people are able to do this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we didn't know about it. The American people did not know about it, and therefore nobody has bothered to challenge it in court. I got to tell you, there is so much This reminds me, I'm going to tell you a little story. This reminds me of a discussion that I was having with somebody on Facebook. I know, social media, whatever. Anyway, we were having a discussion on Facebook, and of course, the discussion had to deal with the separation of powers in our government. You know, we were all taught in school, or at least most of us were taught in school, that the legislative branch creates the laws. The executive branch implements the laws and executes them and enforces them. And the judicial branch reviews the laws, interprets the laws. Except, in a perfect world, that would work 100% of the time. Except there's only one problem. In reality, and this is the truth, in reality, laws are not interpreted by the court until such time as somebody questions it and brings it to the court. I am fairly certain that there are probably in the number of hundreds of laws that have never, ever been challenged in court, that have been put on the books, that the federal government is enforcing today, that have never once seen a courtroom. And even if they have seen a courtroom, they have not been challenged under the proper section or authority of the Constitution that honestly would make them null and void. Now, for anybody who's been on this program or listened to this program for any length of time, I'm telling you, the 10th Amendment to me is the most underused and possibly the most powerful amendment that we possibly could have at our disposal. And it's just not used. Wonder what I'm talking about? Go ahead and educate yourself. Open up a Constitution. Look up the 10th Amendment. It is the last of the first 10 amendments that were ratified just a simple year after the Constitution was ratified itself. I'm still trying to figure out where this 18 million is coming from. I'm just trying to understand where this 18 million is coming from, because if it is coming from our taxpayer money, this is not this is unconstitutional, folks. There is not one single item in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, which is the enumerated powers of Congress to be able to make laws on those 18 individual items, of which 6 are directly related to national defense. That is a full 1/3 of the 18. I don't know where slush funds for sexual misconduct falls. It's not there. It's not there. You know, I got to tell you, I like Elon Musk. I really do. I think he's got a couple ideas that I don't necessarily agree with, but then again, I don't agree with everybody on everything. But I do have to say this. If Elon Musk really wanted to clean up government and be really good, I mean, I know the whole Doge thing was like fantastic. He found all of this stuff. Well, the problem is once you find it and you don't do anything about it, meaning that Congress doesn't do anything about it, it's still going to exist. So to me, the best way for a man that rich to actually help the people of the United States would be to start suing the federal government on behalf of the American people under the 10th Amendment. That's all I'm saying. There was a gentleman by the name of Paul Engel. He is a constitutional scholar. And I was reading an article written by him, and he said something like, of the 438 agencies that are in play, and don't quote me on the numbers, but of the 438 agencies, I believe it was 438 agencies that are under the executive branch, only 53 or so of them are actually directly related to the Constitution. Think about that. If we just use simple numbers, and I'm leaning on my producer right now, my unofficial producer, to give me a percentage. But I need you to do a percentage of what's the percent of 50 into 450? What percentage is that of actual, and again, these numbers, they're kind of guesswork, but of that number, how many agencies out of 450, what percentage is 50 of those agencies? My guess, just a quick guess, is going to be less than 10%. Maybe less than 15%. I don't know. My numbers might be off, but yeah. Yeah. I would really like to understand why it is that we have such a overgrown large. See? Hey, even my quick math was quick. Nana, my unofficial producer, popped back 9%. So even if my numbers are slightly off, we're still looking at less than 10% of the actual agencies that are a part of the United States government, less than 10% of them that exist today, roughly, are actually constitutional at this point. See, this is part of the reason why I'm sitting here telling you that whoever, if Donald Trump gets the opportunity to put another Supreme Court justice in, whoever that Supreme Court justice is, they should be a historian and a strict constitutionalist, a strict originalist constitutionalist, not some judge from somewhere. I'm sorry. Speaking about that, speaking of the Supreme Court, apparently the Supreme Court has, in a 8-0 decision, which means that somebody abstained, but an 8-0 decision yesterday sent back a state court ruling that was done in favor of the oil companies Chevron and ExxonMobil. So the state apparently was seeking millions of dollars for decades of oil production in Louisiana. The case itself was Chevron versus Plaquemines Parish, which, for those of you that don't know, parishes are basically counties. That's what they call them in Louisiana. They call them parishes. So the parish questioned as to whether or not there was a possibility that a state court can litigate against an oil company for its production of oil, even if the oil is just for federal purposes. Now, the litigation challenges activities that the oil company, dating back to World War II in some cases. Lawyers for Chevron had argued that the company was adhering to federal oil production requirements during wartime, and the lawsuit belonged in federal court. Well, the justices agreed with Chevron. So the state tried suing, and the court and the company was like, "Hey, we're just required to, adhere to federal oil production, and you guys are in the wrong venue." So there you go. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote in the court's majority opinion, quote, "Chevron acted under federal officers when it performed its refining duties." The court's justices said state courts cannot pursue litigation against federal entities or companies that are contracted under those entities. Oh, so there is actually a separation between federal and state. Yeah, that's known as federalism in the 10th Amendment, folks. Anyway. Well, speaking of the Supreme Court, remember how I was telling you about Justices Alito and Thomas rumored to possibly be thinking of retiring. Well, both of them said that they are not planning on stepping down once the court's current term ends in late June or early July. CBS News reported that sources close to Thomas state that he is not planning on stepping down. Fox News Digital also reported yesterday that a source close to Alito said that he is not stepping down this term and is the process of hiring the rest of his clerks for the next term. Two other sources also told Fox News that Alito is not retiring either. Now, the justices tend to hire their clerks 2 to 3 years in advance, and that is not necessarily indicative of any justices' retirement plans. So, the news came up as speculation swirled that Alito might soon step down, although he has not publicly signaled his intentions. In March, he was reportedly hospitalized after falling ill during a Federalist Society dinner in Philadelphia that was held in his honor. He had been scheduled to deliver the keynote address, but he did not speak. A Supreme Court spokesperson said that out of abundance of caution, Alito agreed with his security detail's recommendation to seek medical evaluation before driving home to Virginia. He was treated for dehydration, given fluids at a hospital before returning home later that night. Spokesperson also added that Alito was later examined by his personal physician and returned to work the following Monday for oral arguments. So, yeah. Anyway, so it doesn't look like either one of them is actually going to step down, which is good. That's good. But they still do need to put somebody on there. So Sotomayor, if you're thinking about leaving, man, whew, come on. Let's put somebody in there who actually has a strict originalist, constitutionalist nature to put him on the court. And I mean, like, doesn't just say it like Amy Coney Barrett did, but actually has lived it and discusses it every single day. Bing, bing, bing. Hello, right here. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Sort of, but not really. All right. Well, Trump apparently has made a decision that this FISA thing, which, by the way, they reportedly the Senate extended it. Okay, the Senate has extended it for a short period of time. And Donald Trump is saying, hey, you know what? I might actually leave the FISA or suggest leaving the FISA Section 702, which was used, by the way, against Donald Trump in his first term, the whole Russiagate thing. And he basically suggested yesterday that he might leverage the future of that in order to be able to pass the SAVE Act. Speaking with reporters on Air Force One, Trump was asked about an effort by Republican Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna to leverage talks over the expiration of 702 of the FISA Act in order to force the passage of the Save America Act. Now, she first hinted at the idea in a Monday interview with The Hill. And the Daily Caller reporter Reagan Reese asked the president on FISA, Mr. President. Anna Paulina Luna is pushing to have the Save America Act linked to FISA in the FISA renewal. Are you in favor? And he goes, I think she's great. I'd love to see that. The Save America Act is important. It's so good. It's voter IDs. It's basics about a democracy, voter ID, birthplace. Yeah, so he might be indicating that he possibly could do that. He also has pointed out that provisions regarding transgender mutilation of minors, men in women's sports, and among other items, were also highlighted in the bill. He goes, we also have no mail-in ballots other than for the military, etc. If you're sick, if you're away, if you're disabled, any of those things. It's pretty generous, actually. But there is tremendous cheating that goes on with mail-in ballots, so we would have no mail-in ballots except for those various exceptions, which essentially are frickin' absentee ballots. I mean, why we ever got away? Here in Washington, they decided that, oh yeah, all mail-in ballots is great. Well, I actually believe that that was the precursor to the whole mail-in ballot schemes that other states have been putting in. Anyway, his comments do come after the Senate passed the short-term extension of the FISA Section 02, allowing it to run until April 30th, while giving legislators more time to work out a deal. So those talks, by the way, are being held up by Republican hardliners seeking guardrails for the section. I think it should just be gone, period. I think the way that it should work, or that it should be worded, is that the minute that you find out that you're actually listening to an American citizen, that throws everything out. It's done. The warrant, or the FISA warrant, or whatever they call it, whatever that piece of paper that was the authorization, immediately becomes null and void, because it conflicts by continuing the FISA, and the tap on the phone or listening to the communications immediately crosses the Fourth Amendment the minute that you find out that it is an American citizen that you're listening to. And that should automatically be thrown out. I know it's possibly, because a lot of people have said FISA is really needed in order to find like homegrown terrorists and things like that. But I got to tell you, giving up a little, giving up some liberty in lieu of some safety and security means that you don't get either, which is attributed to Benjamin Franklin. I paraphrased it, but whatever. Anyway. All right. Okay. So I've got only a couple of minutes left. I only have a couple of things here. One of the last pieces that I want to point out is, I don't know where these leftists get this idea. It's kind of like with minimum wage and everything else, and they all of a sudden find out that, oh yeah, we hiked the minimum wage and now nobody has a job. Well, there's a reason why that happens. The same thing goes with police enforcement. That's right. When you start enforcing the law, oh my gosh, things like murders, carjackings, all these other things, when you actually start enforcing the laws, concept, by the way, is called broken windows policing. But the point is that when you start doing that, all of a sudden you see those numbers plunge. And it's actually been proven, both in studies as well as places like New York, that when you pick up these quote-unquote violent offenders for low-level crimes like jumping turnstiles in the subway or whatever, where these leftist lunatics who are in charge right now are like, oh, it's just a misdemeanor. Who the hell cares? Well, let me just point something out to you. That same person that jumped that turnstile is more than likely to go and commit a more violent crime later on down the road. Whether it happens to be, stealing somebody's purse, knifing somebody, maybe raping somebody, shooting somebody, whatever. See, the number of crimes that are committed in a community are generally committed by the same group of people. And when you have light on crime laws, those same group of people get caught, let out, caught, let out, caught, let out, and nothing happens to the crime. In fact, if anything else, it goes up. This is because these leftist lunatics and these Democrats are completely stupid and don't see the correlation. Well, as of right now, D.C. has seen a plunge in murders, carjackings, and things like that under the tough on crime regime. Surprise, surprise. You enforce the law, you get less crime. Pretty damn simple. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, the thumb sideways, or even the thumb diagonal across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. We will see you Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Good night, everybody.